With a difference of about 10 levels in strength, Tang San was completely confident in his ability to disrupt the opponent's control abilities. The Grandmaster had once said that the best way to deal with control-type Soul Masters was to counter control with control. If the Assault-type Soul Master was the core of a team, the Auxiliary-type Soul Master was the foundation, and the Agility-type Soul Master was the eyes, then the Control-type Soul Master was the soul of the team. During these 3 months of grueling training, Tang San not only strengthened his body, but also received special training from the Grandmaster every night, with the goal of mastering the 8 spider lances, the external spirit bone embedded in his spine. The name 8 spider lances was given by the Grandmaster, because this external spirit bone originated from the human-faced demon spider and resembled 8 long spears. After this period of training, Tang San went from being unaccustomed to adapting to controlling the 8 spider lances. Now, he could basically control them to be used as weapons for both offense and defense, as well as regulate the release and convergence of toxins within them. The Grandmaster had said that with this external spirit bone, combined with his own control-type martial soul blue silvergrass, Tang San could completely contend with opponents who were less than level 40. After hastily finishing dinner, Fatty indulged in 2 more of Oscar's recovery sausages, and then the 4 of them quietly headed outside the academy. Ma Hongjun didn't intend to inform others. After all, being beaten up in the grass nest wasn't exactly honorable. Just as the 4 of them reached the entrance of the academy, suddenly, a dark figure flashed sideways, blocking their path. After Ma Hongjun got beaten up, rumors had already begun to spread, and he almost immediately released his martial soul. The purple-red flames illuminated the darkness, allowing the 4 to see who was blocking their way. Ma Hongjun breathed a sigh of relief and retracted the phoenix flames. It's you. Are you trying to scare us? The one who suddenly appeared in front of them was Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu was wearing brown trousers today, with a simple white undershirt on top. Although her figure wasn't as voluptuous as Zhu Zhuqing's, she had a slender charm of her own, especially her slender waist and the long black scorpion braid trailing down her back, adding a touch of girl-next-door beauty. Her big black eyes were filled with a hint of doubt as she stared at Tang San and the others. What are you sneaking around for? Fatty, why is your face swollen? Did someone hit you? Ma Hongjun coughed, and while Tang San and the others were all men like him, he didn't mind saying what happened. However, Xiao Wu was a girl and had always been unhappy with his way of dealing with the evil fire, so for a moment, he didn't want to talk about how he got beaten up. Xiao Wu took a few steps forward and, by the moonlight, saw the injuries on Ma Hongjun's face, immediately jumping up in anger. Who's so ruthless? They actually beat you like this. Boss Dai, wasn't it you? Dai Mubai rolled his eyes. Would I lay a hand on my own brother? Fatty got beaten up because he was jealous of someone else. We were just about to find a place to deal with it. Then what are we waiting for? Count me in. Dare to hit my brother, they'll wish they couldn't live. Xiao Wu always had a temper that feared nothing. When she first entered the academy, she had some prejudices against Fatty. But after so many days, everyone had taken care of each other during this devil training, and those prejudices had long disappeared. Moreover, as the eldest sister in the academy, she had always been involved in finding opportunities to fight. Normally, when everyone sparred, there were always clues, and finally, there was a chance for a fight. She seemed even more eager than Ma Hongjun. E5 sister, you're really something. How about I offer myself to you? Seeing that Xiao Wu not only didn't stop them from seeking revenge, but immediately joined in, Fatty was deeply moved, and some of his depression dissipated. The last sentence was clearly his usual lecherous nature. Who are you offering yourself to? Tang San looked at Fatty, his voice somewhat strange. Fatty glanced at Tang San and hurriedly chuckled. Forget it, third brother, let's go. The 4 became 5, and under the cover of night, they set out on a path they knew too well, channeling their soul power, heading toward Soto City at lightning speed. After nearly half an hour. Fatty, do you usually come here to deal with the evil fire problem? Dai Mubai's brows were furrowed. In front of the five was a row of bungalows, located in a remote corner of Soto City. The bungalows were only about 3 meters high, looking quite dilapidated in many places. Several pink lanterns hung at the entrance, and a few heavily made up, obviously mature women were selling themselves to passers-by. Oscar's mouth twitched slightly. No wonder you always say there's a phoenix here in the grass nest. This place is indeed a nest. In terms of Ma Hongjuan's taste, Dai Mubai and Oscar really couldn't compliment him. It was the first time Xiao Wu and Tang San had come to such a place. Apart from curiosity, they didn't have any special feelings. Fatty just chuckled awkwardly twice and whispered, it's cheap here. The prices are low, and the quantity is sufficient. 1 silver coin gets you 1 session, 2 silver coins get you 3. Cost effective. And, you have to believe, there's a reason there's a phoenix in the grass nest too. It's all about luck. Dai Mubai gave him a stern look. From now on, when we go out, don't mention that I know you. Although I know you're not picky, I didn't expect you to be so tough. Even coming to such a trashy place. Those phoenixes of yours are old enough to be your aunts. Fatty became somewhat embarrassed and angry. Boss Dai, are you deliberately embarrassing me? Let's focus on the task at hand. You guys wait here, I'll go ask if that bastard has left. As he spoke, Fatty quickly headed towards his grass nest. Oscar looked around and said, it's quite remote here, suitable for action. I've got a big sausage, a small sausage, and a mushroom sausage. Listening to Oscar chant his incantations and begin his pre-battle preparations, Xiao Wu couldn't help but snort lightly. Truly worthy of Uncle Big Sausage. After a while, Ma Hongjun came back excitedly. Great, that guy hasn't left yet, but he's already settling his bill. He'll probably come out soon. Brothers, if we succeed in avenging me this time, I'll treat you to a good meal. Dai Mubai waved his hand at him. Don't talk nonsense. We dare not accept your treat. With your taste, forget it. Upon hearing Dai Mubai's words, even Xiao Wu couldn't help but nod. She and Tang San had seen Dai Mubai with the twin sisters before. Compared to those top-quality twin sisters, the aunties in front of them were simply worlds apart. While they were speaking, a person had already walked out of the grass nest. Tang San and the others were standing in a dark corner opposite the grass nest. By now, it was completely dark, and it was difficult to see from the other side. It's him, Fatty said through gritted teeth. Just as Fatty described, a middle-aged man in his 40s emerged from the grass nest. His skin was dark, and he was a little over 1 meter 6 in height. There was a satisfied smile on his face, and his right hand was wrapped in gauze. He wore a pair of trousers with several holes in them and sandals on his feet. Swinging his head as he walked down the street, he hummed a tune. I'm feeling good today, just out for a stroll. Should we go? Fatty's fists were already clenched tightly. Just wait a moment. Xiao Wu grabbed Ma Hongjuan's thick shoulder, and with her other hand, she flicked her scorpion braid behind her head, a harmless smile appearing on her pretty face. You guys wait here for a moment, and watch me. As she spoke, Xiao Wu took small steps and walked sideways towards the unsavory middle-aged man. What is Xiao Wu going to do? Ma Hongjun looked at Tang San with some confusion. Everyone knew that Tang San understood her the best. Tang San tapped his own forehead, somewhat helplessly. Just wait and see. Xiao Wu seemed to be walking slowly, but she just happened to block the path of the unsavory middle-aged man. Hello, uncle. Can you tell me if there are any candy shops nearby? Just as Not Happy had just come out of the grass nest and was still immersed in satisfaction, the sudden voice startled him. He paused and looked towards the source of the sound. Suddenly, his seemingly honest face lit up with a special glow, and certain parts of his body immediately showed signs of excitement. It had to be said that Xiao Wu, who suddenly appeared in front of him at night, looked so charming. Her tender and fair little face, her long and shiny scorpion braid, although not voluptuous, still had some proportionate curves. Especially the youthful blush on her cheeks, for someone like Not Happy, who was older, added even more temptation. Not Happy's eyes lit up as he looked at Xiao Wu, and he thought to himself, what a beautiful and cute little Lolita. Oh heavens, oh earth, is this your gift to me? With a cough, Not Happy quickly suppressed the lewd light in his eyes, straightened his chest, and put on a dignified posture. His transformation was so quick that if Xiao Wu hadn't been watching him all along, she might have been deceived. A little girl, it's so late and you're still out buying candy? It's so remote here, aren't you afraid of running into bad people? When Unhappy put on a stern face, coupled with his seemingly honest appearance, it really gave off an air of righteousness. Little Dance blinked her pretty big eyes. Uncle, are you a bad person then? Her timid demeanor caused Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, and Oscar, not far away, to twitch involuntarily. Was this the same Little Dance who tossed them around like sandbags in battle? She's quite good at acting. Only Tang San's face showed a bitter smile, not surprised at all. He had witnessed this kind of scene back in Nuoding. In terms of confusing others, Little Dance was even better than Ning Rongrong when she first arrived at Shrek Academy. Especially when she put on that innocent girl next door look, hardly any normal man could resist. The difference is, when a good person sees her like this, they would only feel pity, but someone like Unhappy seeing Little Dance at this moment would only drool. Hearing Little Dance's question, Unhappy immediately spoke firmly, Uncle is certainly a good person. Little girl, what's your name, and how old are you this year? A blush crept onto Little Dance's face. My name is Little Dance, and I'm almost 13. Unhappy was taken aback for a moment, thinking to himself, almost 13, so she's actually just 12? His throat moved as he swallowed forcefully. If he didn't take advantage of this tender meat that had been delivered to his mouth, he would really be letting himself down. You're only 12 years old and already so tall. You'll definitely be a great beauty in the future. Little Dance, there's no candy sold around here. How about you come with Uncle? Uncle will take you to buy candy, and then escort you home, okay? Little Dance smiled and nodded obediently, okay. Unhappy hadn't expected this little girl to be so easily fooled. Seeing her agreeing to go with him, he was delighted. His eyes glanced around, and following his memory, he walked in a secluded direction. In order not to arouse suspicion, he resisted the urge to hold Little Dance's tender hand. Oscar rubbed his eyes vigorously, nudging Tang San beside him. San, is this really Little Dance? Why do I feel like something's off? Tang San said with a hint of strangeness, back when we were at Nuoding Academy, there was a girl who used the same trick. She led a strange old man into a dark corner, and then performed the 8-stage throw. The 8-stage throw? What's that? Dai Mubai couldn't help but be curious. A trace of fear flickered in Tang San's eyes. It's the most violent throwing technique in Little Dance's soft skills. 8 consecutive throws. Once the first throw is executed, there's almost no possibility of resistance. That's Little Dance's true strength. So, don't let her get close to you. I think this creepy old uncle named Unhappy is probably going to have the pleasure of experiencing this feast. Let's hurry and catch up, just in case. Unhappy was completely oblivious to the alarm. With his soul power reaching level 46, if he had been a little more vigilant like usual, he might have noticed Tang San and the others trailing him. But at this moment, his mind was completely focused on the tender little Lolita beside him, leaving no room for anything else. How could he have known that sometimes, Lolitas can turn into demons? Sneaking glances at Little Dance, Unhappy couldn't help but swallow his saliva stealthily as he watched her delicate waist sway gently as she walked. Her buttocks weren't particularly large, but her waist was incredibly slender, creating a mesmerizing curve that made Unhappy, this old ****, unable to stop drooling. Plus, Little Dance's nearly perfect appearance, like a lotus leaf in the wind, a banana after rain, gradually reignited the evil fire that had initially dissipated in his heart. For an old like him, external stimulation was especially crucial. How could the little dance in front of him be compared to those ordinary girls in the grass nest? As they walked further into the desolate area, pedestrians became scarce. Unhappy led little dance around a corner, arriving at a dark and secluded alley. Uncle, where can we find candy? It's so dark here, I'm a little scared, little dance said timidly, seeming somewhat panicked. Unhappy chuckled, little dance, it's late at night, eating candy isn't good for you. How about Uncle takes you to see some goldfish instead? See goldfish? Where are there goldfish? Little dance asked curiously. Unhappy stopped in his tracks and began to undo his belt. Right here, just wait. Some. Suddenly, little dance laughed. Uncle, are you about to say, I've got a big sausage? Unhappy's hands froze, his movements coming to a sudden halt. He saw a pair of red eyes, seductive eyes, and suddenly, he was petrified. The next moment, in front of him, there was only a purple afterimage left. His neck tightened. Before Unhappy could release his martial soul, the black scorpion braid had quietly wrapped around his neck. In the next moment, Unhappy felt a great force coming from his neck, and his whole body involuntarily lifted off the ground. If Unhappy had been a power-type soul master, perhaps he would have had a chance to stabilize himself. Unfortunately, he was a control-type soul master. And if a soul master's martial soul couldn't be released, their strength would be greatly reduced. Plus, he had been working hard all day, and his physical strength had already decreased by half. At this moment, Unhappy felt dizzy, and the next moment, all he could see was stars. Golden stars, silver stars, stars of all sizes kept flashing before his eyes, and the intense shaking made it impossible for him to concentrate his soul power to release his martial soul. He couldn't even feel any pain, just intense numbness. Dai Mubai, Oscar, Tang San, and Ma Hongjun had already emerged from the darkness. Except for Tang San, the other three were wide-eyed, watching the once awkward and tender little dance now performing incredibly violent actions. For the first time, they witnessed little dance's full set of 8 stage throws. Using teleportation, little dance disappeared from in front of Unhappy, already poised to confront him when he was least prepared. Little dance's scorpion braid successfully wrapped around Unhappy's neck. In the next moment, Unhappy's miserable ordeal began. Wrapped around Unhappy's neck, little dance kicked him in the lower back, activating her first soul ring skill, waist arch. Using her waist strength to lift, Unhappy's neck arched backward, while her foot pushed forward, sending Unhappy's body flying into the air. The scorpion braid quietly detached, and little dance chased after Unhappy, who was thrown into the air. The power of her waist arch was truly terrifying. With her 31st level of soul power and a 120% amplification, she directly threw Unhappy 5 meters high into the air. As Unhappy's body reached its highest point, it was also the moment when little dance caught up. She grabbed Unhappy's waist directly with both hands, and the power of her waist arch was activated once again. Little dance's waist seemed to break as she instantly rotated Unhappy's body backward. At this moment, Unhappy was still under the influence of little dance's bewitching skill, feeling dizzy and unable to do anything but experience the sensation of spinning. Little dance held onto Unhappy's clothes around his waist, while spinning in midair for 2 full rotations. As she descended towards the ground, the rapid rotation caused by the power of her waist arch made Unhappy's body hurtle towards the ground with a terrifying whistling sound. At that moment, Tang San and the others almost simultaneously closed their eyes. The strength required for this mid-air assault and spiraling throw was unimaginable. Little Dance had used similar moves during sparring sessions with them before, but she had always thrown them into the air, not directly slammed them onto the ground like this. Unhappy was truly unlucky today to encounter this little demon like Little Dance, especially since his despicable appearance was exactly what Little Dance hated the most. At this moment, when she struck, there was absolutely no mercy in her intentions. In Little Dance's mind, a strange uncle like him, who wasn't even willing to spare a 12-year-old girl, deserved nothing less than death. However, Unhappy was still a soul ancestor of over 40 levels. Within the 2 rapid rotations, he finally managed to regain his senses from Little Dance's bewitching skill. Although he didn't have time to release his martial soul, he managed to reluctantly spread his soul power throughout his body to protect himself. But in the next moment, the intense shaking had already dispersed the soul power he had gathered. Boom! Unhappy's body heavily crashed onto the ground. Little Dance had slammed his body flat against the ground, creating a completely ground-shaking impact. Unhappy didn't even have time to scream before his nose started bleeding profusely. His whole body felt dazed. Yet, this was just the beginning. Without pausing, Little Dance's hands pressed against Unhappy's waist, performing a back somersault, and her feet directly sandwiched Unhappy's head on both sides. The power of her waist arch was activated once again, hurling Unhappy's body forward. While her hands were released, her feet could exert even greater force. Unhappy's body, driven by Little Dance's feet, was sent flying once again as Little Dance performed another back somersault, and his entire body crashed heavily onto the ground. Little Dance fully demonstrated the elasticity of her waist, leveraging the reactive force from the second throw. Her body flipped backward, hurling Unhappy back to his previous position. Unhappy's body, like a sack lifted by Little Dance's feet, experienced 6 throws in total, 3 forwards and 3 backwards, with each throw causing his entire skeletal structure to crackle. Oh my god! Oh my god! Dai Mubai and the others' eyes followed Unhappy's body, which was being thrown by Little Dance with all her might. Every time he crashed, they couldn't help but exclaim in shock, with blood even splattering to their feet. Finally, when Little Dance threw Unhappy's body once again, instead of crashing directly to the ground, it was thrown into the air. The 6 consecutive throws had finally come to an end, in addition to the initial mid-air assault and spiraling throw, making it a total of 7. Whether it was Dai Mubai, Oscar, or Ma Hongjun, they all wondered what it would be like if they were the ones being thrown 7 times like this. Even Dai Mubai, the strongest among them, immediately realized that even if he used his White Tiger Vajra transformation, once thrown by Little Dance like this, his soul power would probably be dispersed. Little Dance jumped up again. Just when Dai Mubai and the others thought she was going to perform the mid-air assault and spiraling throw again, Little Dance didn't make that move. At this point, Unhappy had completely fallen into a semi-conscious state. As Little Dance caught up to his body, she once again sandwiched his neck with her feet. Her body spun rapidly in a 1,080-degree rotation, and Unhappy's neck, being squeezed by her, could only follow her movements, making continuous cracking sounds. Even if his vertebrae weren't broken, they were definitely not in good shape. After the 1,080-degree rotation, Little Dance performed a graceful backflip, and her waist arch activated for the last time, directly throwing Unhappy's body towards the ground. Utilizing the reactive force from throwing Unhappy, she somersaulted in the air for a few more spins before descending towards the ground. Boom! Unhappy's body landed on the ground in a very strange posture. Apart from convulsions, his body couldn't make any other movements. Ma Hongjun looked at Little Dance, who was panting slightly not far from him, and tentatively asked, Little Dance, you didn't kill him, did you? Little Dance disdainfully glanced at Unhappy's convulsing body. Killing him would dirty my hands. I have boundaries. Xiao San doesn't allow me to kill indiscriminately. I just gave him a lesson. However, I doubt he'll be able to get out of bed for 3 months. I'm usually straightforward. I dislocated many of his joints with my throws. For a while, he probably won't be able to take care of himself. Dai Mubai said somewhat frustratedly, We came here to fight, and you've thrown him into such a state. There's no point in us fighting anymore. But, Little Dance, your 8 throws technique is indeed powerful. Oscar added, The key is her teleportation, it's too abnormal. Once within her 5-meter range, there's no escape. Also, little dance, can you continuously use your waist arch skill? Does it require regathering soul power? Little dance chuckled as if the feat just now wasn't accomplished by her. Yeah, I used to need to gather soul power, but after reaching level 30, I no longer need extra time. Besides, even if I need to gather soul power, there's enough time during each activation of the waist arch. My 8 throws technique isn't very useful against power-type soul masters, but for control-type soul masters like him, if I successfully ambush them, they're out of luck. Tang San suddenly said, "You little dance, don't use that kind of method to tempt enemies in the future. It's too dangerous." Little dance paused for a moment, looked at Tang San's serious eyes, stuck out her tongue, and obediently nodded. What Tang San didn't say was that when he saw little dance tempting unhappy just now, for some reason, he felt very uncomfortable. Dai Mubai waved his hand and said, All right, let's go. Fatty, this guy has suffered more than you, so consider your revenge fulfilled. Ma Hongjun, still somewhat dissatisfied, ran to Unhappy's side, kicked him a few times, muttering as he kicked, letting you hit me, letting you hit me. Letting you say I have a small dick. Oh right. Seemingly remembering something, Ma Hongjun grinned, you guys go ahead, I'll catch up soon. Dai Mubai frowned, don't overdo it. Although this guy deserves it for hitting you, he's not exactly a good person, but he doesn't deserve to die either. Hurry up. Got it. Watching Dai Mubai, Tang San, Oscar, and Little Dance disappear around the corner, a strange smile appeared on Ma Hongjuan's face. He raised his right hand, and a purple flame emerged from his palm, while his gaze was fixed on Unhappy's lower body. A creepy uncle, didn't you say my dick was small? All right, then I'll turn you into roast chicken. Tang San and the others hadn't gone far when they heard a sound of agony that didn't sound human. They exchanged glances, shaking their heads with some helplessness. Soon, Ma Hongjun excitedly caught up. Without waiting for everyone to ask, he said proactively, don't worry, I didn't do anything serious to him. I won't let him die. Little Dance is right. Killing him would dirty our hands. Xiao Wu, thanks a lot today. If you need my help in the future, just ask, as long as I can do it, I won't refuse. Little Dance chuckled, no need for thanks. I enjoyed throwing him just now. It's been a while since I had so much fun. Tang San said thoughtfully, actually, what we did just now wasn't right. And not right? Xiao San, don't tell me you're getting soft. Dai Mubai looked at Tang San in confusion. Although Tang San was usually very calm, he didn't seem like a soft-hearted person. Dai Mubai still remembered Tang San's demeanor when he used hidden weapons. Even Zhao Wuji had suffered a lot. Tang San shook his head. I mean, cutting grass without removing the roots, spring breeze will blow again. Iha. The others' gazes at Tang San changed slightly. Although they were all genius soul masters, they were still teenagers after all. When it came to killing, perhaps only Dai Mubai could accept it to some extent. No one expected Tang San to say such words. Tang San never forgot the record in the Xian Tian Catalog General Outline. Tang Sec Xian Tian Catalog General Outline, Article 3. Once the opponent is confirmed as an enemy, as long as there is a way to kill, do not show mercy, otherwise, it will only bring trouble to oneself. The creepy uncle named Unhappy didn't die this time, but he probably won't let it go easily. After all, he has soul power above level 40. If he gathers allies for revenge, Fatty, you need to be careful. Although he's been beaten badly, his hearing is still intact. Plus, considering your conflict with him during the day, he'll probably guess it was you who attacked him. If it weren't for Dai Mubai saying Unhappy didn't deserve to die, Tang San would have already taken action. Now he was just reminding Ma Hongjun, so he wouldn't suffer in the future. Ma Hongjun swallowed. I didn't expect you to be the most ruthless, Xiao San. It seems that I can't afford to offend anyone but you. Tang-san smiled. You didn't seem to call me that way before we came here. Well, brothers, and little dance, thanks a lot for this time. Please help me keep it a secret, brothers. Dai Mubai raised his hand and lightly patted the swollen head of the fatty. A brother, why are you talking so much nonsense? Hurry back. Don't let the master find out we're still outside at this hour, unless you want some more devilish training. Shrek Academy, Headmaster's Office. I say, Xiaogang, although I don't want to disturb you in teaching those little monsters, I regret to inform you that the little money the Academy had has already been spent by you. Saying this with some helplessness, Flender also wore a face of sadness. Being a powerful soul saint, yet being constrained by money due to his own arrogance, how tragic. Originally, according to normal expenses, the tuition paid by the students was enough to support their learning expenses for a whole year. There would even be some surplus. However, the master's teaching methods were extremely unconventional. Not only did the food expenses increase substantially, but the medicines he mixed into the food and bathwater for the students were also frighteningly expensive. Just 3 months had passed, and the tuition collected by Shrek Academy this year had almost nothing left. The master nodded, still maintaining his perennially stiff expression, and said lightly, I understand. Flender smiled bitterly. You understand, you still have to come up with a solution. The master said, after these 7 days of rest, I will take them for the second phase of training. You don't have to worry about it, I'll handle the expenses. Flender sighed. If it weren't for these children being so outstanding, I really wouldn't want to continue like this. The days when we traveled the continent together, before were the most memorable. The master showed a brief moment of absent-mindedness. Perhaps, one day we will repeat the happiness we had in the beginning. Flender couldn't help but ask, as Xiaogang, how are you planning to teach these children in the next stage? Shouldn't you take it easy? These kids have suffered quite a bit in the past 3 months. After all, they're just teenagers. Overdoing it might cause them to break easily. The master's expression returned to its normal state. Since you entrusted these children to me, I can only choose to completely trust me. I have my boundaries. Sato City. Dark alleyway. Unhappy, lying limp on the ground, was still convulsing incessantly. This was already the 3rd time he had regained consciousness. The previous 2 times, as soon as he woke up, he was plunged back into darkness by the intense pain all over his body. Gritting his teeth to endure the pain, Unhappy reluctantly opened his eyes. The burnt smell kept assaulting his sense of smell, but what made him despair the most was the complete lack of sensation in his lower body. He knew that his life was probably over. He wanted to move, but could only manage to squirm. His limbs were completely dislocated, even his elbows and knees were dislocated. At least 5 ribs were broken, and his neck was misaligned in at least 2 places.